all of a sudden I am invited on a blind date, um, by some friends who I hadn't talked to in 2 years. And so this is the summer of 2009. I'm wrapping up my first summer at Forest Home. And this couple I known through EV Free Fullerton, but then the husband had also done the same master's program. She Facebook messages me out of the blue. I haven't talked to him in 2 years. And she's like, "Hey, Andrew, this is Jen Castillo. Like, are you interested in going on a blind date with my friend Claire? She's pursuing her doctorate in clinical psychology from Azusa Pacific University here, and she's also served as a missionary for 2 years in Mexico. We think you guys might enjoy each other." And I'm like, "Sure, why not? What do I got to lose?" You know. And so I say yes to this blind date, not knowing anything, not knowing what I'm getting myself into, but I'm like, okay, Dave and Jen Castillo, they're a great couple. It'd be great to reconnect with them. They're great people, so the chances of Claire being a great person are high. So even if there's no romantic interest, like, she's going to be a decent human being as well.
Do you
and so
think
then they asked,
did you have the thought though that maybe she had like a clinical project and like she was gonna analyze you? Because I'm married to a mental health therapist, and my dad always makes the joke. He's like, "You're writing a paper about our family," you know?
Yeah, no, that is the running joke. I didn't think that, actually. It was more
Okay.
because I love the mind, and want to marry somebody I can have robust conversations with. I'm like, "Ooh, this sounds intriguing," because we can actually talk about the human soul in deeper ways, right? And that we share this love of academics. I think I love academics more than she does, even though she has the higher degrees. But it's been great because we can talk about faith, and we can talk about what's impeding us and what's helping us, and how do we want to help others. So no, it's been actually really enjoyable for the most part, like any marriage. But where food factors into this, and why I want to mention the blind date, is because my friends tell me to bring a dessert. And so as a chef, I can't just bring any dessert, right? Like, I can't just bring boxed brownies, but nor can I play all my cards, on the first date, right? Because then it's just downhill. Like, I got nothing left. And so initially I settle on a cheesecake, like a New York style cheesecake with fresh berries. Again, returning to China, in China, I actually baked a lot of cheesecakes. I became, the students loved my cheesecakes. Other people loved my cheesecakes. It was a way of me just to have fun and bake cheesecakes. And so I was like, okay, I'll make a cheesecake. It's safe. It's easy. I've done it a million times. And so the night before I was going to bake the cheesecake, I'm actually down at my parents', because I would stay the night at my parents' before seminary classes. And they had a carton of Thrifty's chocolate malted crunch ice cream. And I grew up on Thrifty's ice cream in Southern California, where it was the 25-cent cylindrical cone of goodness that we would walk down to and get. And I'm eating this and I'm like, this would make a great cheesecake. Like, how could I make chocolate malted crunch into a cheesecake? And so all that night, I'm like literally thinking about a cheesecake, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm supposed to do this, like, as weird as it all sounds. And so I figure out how to get, I look up chocolate malted cheesecakes and figure out how to do that. And then I'm like, maybe I can incorporate Whoppers into the crust and some on top, and maybe do like a chocolate Kahlua ganache on top as well. And I actually think I focused more on the cheesecake during my seminary classes the next day than the actual classes. I don't even remember what classes I was in. And so I baked this cheesecake. And the date went well. Obviously, we're married now. And it was such a delightful experience that day. And the next couple of days, I'm reflecting on this cheesecake. And I'm beginning to think about it, like, okay, I threw out a recipe. I didn't play it safe. I experimented. And I began to wonder, as I approach this new relationship with Claire, like, am I supposed to throw out recipes and just give her me, not play it safe, let her see me? And if she rejects me, at least she was rejecting me and not a safe, contained Andrew. which is how I've had generally approached relationships in the past. And so that cheesecake became more than a cheesecake. It became a metaphor of like, okay, I'm not going to play it safe. I'm going to let her see me. I'm going to let my true colors come out and experiment and see what happens when I throw out the recipes and just sort of try to create something new and fresh. And so that it's weird, how a cheesecake becomes a guiding metaphor for me in this relationship, to such the degree that our wedding party favors were chocolate malt balls, with the story of the cheesecake and the recipe for the cheesecake.
Hold on 1 second. I'm assuming this, but for our listeners,
yeah,
did she like the cheesecake?
She loved the cheesecake.
Okay. Did she have a relationship with Thrifties and ice cream and Whoppers too?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, not as much as me, and she enjoyed it, but yeah, it wasn't as nostalgic for her as it was for me. But no, she really liked the cheesecake and was like, "Oh man, this guy can cook."
So let's and we'll continue with the story. I think this is super powerful. I'm definitely enthralled by this story. You and I talk on the phone, so just to see each other is pretty powerful. But you almost talk about making this cheesecake as if the voice of God spoke to you. And I guess as you reflect on like this pivotal situation, don't tell your wife I said that. Maybe a pivotal moment, but what, besides like be who God made you, what were some other spiritual significance about this moment and this cheesecake and this double date? Because it sounds like God was doing something pretty radical in your life.
That's a great question. No, it was a very deep spiritual experience. And I think for me, and I think it had started prior, but it was God. A lot of the food journey for me has been about God seeing my heart and my passion and saying, enjoy. Like, I see it, enter into it, and let's explore it and see what comes. It hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always been quote unquote enjoyable. But as I reflect on it in a more holistic way, not just about the cheesecake, food has become an arena in which I delight in God and I feel God's delight in me. And I feel I feel confident. I feel like, oh, this is who, in some small ways, maybe not in small ways, in some way, like this is who God created me to be. And as I'm talking, I'm reminded of like Eric Little's quote of when he's running, that he just feels, I'm going to butcher it now, but like, that he just feels the pleasure of God when he runs. And for me, when I'm cooking and in the kitchen, there are instances where it's like, this is good and this is right. And so, yeah, I think it's been a way for me to experience God's delight in me in ways that I don't often get.